Howdy and welcome to your basin safety training. Today we're going to be going over fire safety and extinguisher use, emergency response plans, and hot work. This is all covered under CFR 1910-157, 1910-150, CFR Part 142, NFPA 10, NFPA 51B, 1910-30, and 1917-152. Let's get started. So these are the four elements of a fire. We have fuel, oxygen, heat, and chemical chain reaction. So fuel, any combustible material, solid, liquid, or gas. We have oxygen. Fire needs only 16% oxygen to burn. We have heat, the energy necessary to increase the temperature of fuel to where sufficient vapors are given off for ignition to occur. And chemical chain reaction, sufficient exothermic reaction energy to produce the ignition. We have 5 different fire classifications. We have Class A, B, C, D, and K. We'll start with Class A. That is like fibrous materials such as wood, paper, cloth, rubber, and some plastics. Then we get to Class B, liquids such as gasoline, kerosene, paint, paint thinners, and propane. We have Class C, electrical equipment such as appliances, switches, panel boxes, and power tools. We get to Class D, combustible metals such as magnesium, titanium, potassium, and sodium. And then Class K, which is cooking oils and greases such as animal and vegetable fat. We'll talk about some fire prevention. This is for Class A. You keep storage and work areas free of trash and place oily rags in covered containers. For Class B, don't refuel gasoline-powered equipment in a confined space in the presence of an open flame or while the equipment is hot. Keep flammable liquids stored in a tightly closed container and away from spark-producing sources. Also use flammable liquids only in well-ventilated areas. For Class C, never install a fuse rated higher than specified for the circuit. You should investigate any appliances or electrical equipment that smell strange. Usually unusual odors can be the first sign of a potential fire. And utility lights should always have some type of wire guard over them. For Class D, you should know what kind of metal you're working with. Check the SDS. Make sure you understand if it is a flammable or combustible metal. We have Class K. So Class K fires are fires in cooking oils and greases, such as animal and vegetable fats. They must be smothered to prevent reignition. Oil must be cooled and removed for potential oxygen sources. When we talk about conducting a fire watch, this consists of one or more qualified persons or person performing these functions. So you should keep diligent watch for fires. You should prevent fire ignition sources. Ensure adequate means of egress and remove obstructions to egress as necessary. Promptly remediate hazards that are found. Be prepared to contact the fire department. Be ready to extinguish any fires using a portable fire extinguisher or hose. And be ready to warn the occupants of any hazardous conditions requiring evacuation. These are the expectations for fire watch. It reads as so: shall have fire extinguisher equipment readily available and be trained in its use. A fire watch shall be maintained for at least half an hour or 30 minutes after completion of welding or cutting operations or any hot work performed to detect and extinguish possible smoldering fires. This is just some basic or typical PPE that fire watch would have: FR clothing, gloves, safety glasses, hard hat, safety toe boots, respiratory equipment, if needed, and proper fire extinguishers for the type of material you're either cutting, brazing, welding on, or anything of hot work. Right here, we just have an example of the NFPA symbols. On the left, that's usually what you will see. You will just see that diamond. On the right, you can see the key to it. Now, they don't come at the same time. So most of the time you'll see the one on the left and you won't know what those mean. So you need the key to help figure it out. I would recommend you download the key, go to the internet, save it to your phone, You can download an app, a safety app that would have this on there. But just find some way, if your company uses the NFPA symbols, to delineate what each of these sections and numbers mean. So employees must be trained to use fire extinguishers. You may have fire extinguishers around your workplace. Use to control or extinguish fires that are small or have just begun. In other words, workers must be trained to recognize when to use a portable fire extinguisher. That picture right there is a training that we do. We light a skid on fire. We have you try to put it out, and we fix any issues that you might have with putting out a fire. These are the inspection requirements for fire extinguishers. So 5-year inspections are required for all pressurized water, carbon dioxide, and wet chemical extinguishers, while dry chemical extinguishers must be inspected every 12 years. NFPA 10, which is the standard for portable fire extinguishers, requires that the monthly inspection verify a number of things, including confirming the extinguisher is visible, unobstructed, and is in its designated location, and verify the locking pin is intact and the tamper seal is unbroken. These are different kinds of fire extinguishers we might have: water, foam, carbon dioxide, powder, and wet chemical. This is fire extinguisher use, so a water fire extinguisher. They have a Class A rating and are suitable for fighting fires involving solid combustibles such as wood, paper, and textiles. Then we have a foam fire extinguisher. They're highly effective on Class A and Class B fires. The foam agent helps to prevent reignition. We have CO2. As CO2 is not a conductor and they do not leave behind any harmful residue, they're really good for server rooms or any kind of electrical fire. We have ABC powder fire extinguishers, which are extremely versatile and can be used on Class A, Class B, and Class C fires. We also have wet chemical. So wet chemical fire extinguishers are designed specifically for use on fires involving combustible cooking medias, such as burning oil and fat. This is a fact sheet that just shows you, hey, where should the fire extinguisher be located? What do these markings mean? It kind of is going through and explaining pretty much what we're doing right now, but it's going to be a much smaller portion. You can get these as little cards. You see there at the bottom for more information. Visit nfpa.org/10. You can find these cards there. When you fight a fire, remember the word pass. So you pull the pin, aim the hose, squeeze the handle, and sweep back and forth at the base of the fire. We want to put the base of the fire out. That is where the fumes are coming from that are feeding the fire. If you fight the fumes, you're never going to put it out. You have to fight the base of the fire. Now we're going to go on to some emergency response and exit plans. Should always be prepared for a fire emergency. Check the location of fire alarms and know how they work. Learn your building's evacuation plan. Know where your 2 nearest exits are located. Learn how doors swing and where stairs lead as well. Make sure nothing blocks fire poles, extinguishers, and emergency exits. You should also learn and know the sound of an emergency alarm. Post emergency numbers, including security and first aid, near your telephone. And make sure you know what to do if the fire alarm sounds. You should always plan your escape before something happens. For exit routes, you should ensure exit routes and evac plans are posted. Always know your shortest and safest route to exit. Exit paths should be clear of obstructions. They have to have a minimum width of 28 inches and a minimum height of 7.5 feet tall. That is the OSHA's minimum distance for a exit. Areas outside of buildings leading to muster points should be clear and unobstructed. For escape routes, a continuous and unobstructed way of exit travel from any point in the building or structure to a public way, so street, yard, court, or other open spaces leading to the street. There's 3 parts to an escape route: the way of exit access, the exit, and the way of exit discharge. A good example is if you go out a door, you shouldn't have to open the door, go around the door, and then out to where the muster point is. The door should open in the same distance or the opposite distance that you're going to travel. So it should open to the left if you have to go to the right. It should open to the right if you have to go to the left. Here's a little history for you. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, this was March 25th, 1911. 146 dead due to locked exits, mostly women and children. Attributed to the workplace safety standard, it was caused by cigarettes in the trash bin. So they locked the doors because people were leaving early or people were going outside too much to smoke. They locked the doors, locked him in there, and said, hey, we'll be back when your shift's over, and we'll unlock the doors for you. Well, there was a fire that was started. Nobody could get out of the building. For workplace emergencies, that's going to be an unforeseen situation that threatens your employees, customers, or the public, or disrupts or shuts down your operations, or causes physical or environmental damage. Some natural disasters such as earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes. You can also have energy and utility outages, fire hazards, hazardous material releases, and terrorism. So reporting and alerting emergencies. Employees must know how to report emergencies. 911 is a common method for reporting emergencies if external emergency personnel are used at your workplace. This is OSHA's record keeping and reporting. So as of January 1st, 2015, OSHA updated that employers must report all work-related fatalities within 8 hours and all work-related inpatient hospitalizations, all amputations, and all losses of an eye within a 24-hour period. For emergency preparedness, there is essential elements for the planning. You should identify hazards and assess the risks. That's like a JSA. Assess capabilities and resources. Develop an emergency plan and procedures. Integrate the plan with the community plan. You should also conduct training. You should conduct drills and exercises. And develop plan audit procedures. This is an incident command system. So there's going to be an incident commander. There's going to be the safety person, a person that's gathering information. There's going to be a liaison, usually someone who's dealing with the media, dealing with other things like insurance and all that, or dealing with other commanders within the system. There's going to be an operation commander, a planning commander. There's going to be someone who is taking care of logistics. And there is going to be someone who is taking care of the finance or the administration side of it. This is escape routes. These are the general requirements. Fire alarms are required if a fire could start without providing adequate warning to the occupants. There must be enough exits in the proper arrangement for quick escape. An adequate and reliable illumination must be provided for all exit facilities. So the minimum width for an escape route is 28 inches. Minimum ceiling height is 7.5 feet tall. That way we can get through there and exit. Locking exits. So you must not install any locks or fastening devices that impede or prevent escape from the inside of any building. So that picture is a good example. That is a door that leads outside. It's something they could use to escape. Well, they have locked it. They've shut it down. They won't let people escape through there. Okay, well, you cannot do that. You cannot impede somebody from going out an exit door. So access to exits. Exits must be readily accessible at all times. A door from a room to an exit or escape route must be a side hinge swinging type, and the swing in the direction of exit travel when the room is occupied by more than 50 people or contains high hazard contents. Another good example is like a high school gym. They have two big wide swinging doors that swing out and allow you or a large number of people to get out. You should maintain escape routes. So escape routes must be free of all obstructions in case of emergency. So you see in the first picture there, boxes stacked in front of it, and there's an exit sign. Well, we can't get to the exit. There can be other complicated or obstructed exits. So they've obviously in the right side picture, they have stacked things in front of it, and now people can't get past there. They might be able to push things, but they can't get past there and exit quickly. And that middle photo, like a frac site, it could be very difficult to actually hold an evacuation route there because we have so many operations happening at once. But we do need to have some sort of evacuation route. So exits must be marked by a readily visible sign when the exit or way to reach it is not immediately visible to occupants, such as illuminated exit signs. Battery-powered exit floodlights that illuminate the path of exit is a good example as well. You usually see those all the time. You see those almost on every single exit sign. So here's a slight review. So the 4 elements that must be present at the same time to have a fire: fuel, oxygen, heat, and a chemical chain reaction. The 5 different classes of fire would be A, B, C, D, and K. Hot work and permits required for any temporary operation involving open flames or producing heat, sparks, or both. Firewatch. A firewatch shall be maintained for at least half an hour after completion of welding or cutting operations or any hot work performed to detect and extinguish possible smoldering flames. Remember the pass method: pull the pin, aim the hose, squeeze the handle, and sweep at the base of the fire. And emergency preparedness: evacuation of the facility. You have to be trained on fire extinguisher use, you have to be trained on exit strategies, and you have to understand fire alarms and know what they sound like. We have welding, cutting, and hot work. So these are different definitions. So hot work. Hot work is considered any work that creates a heat source within range of an ignition source. The distance of ignition source to be 35 to 50 feet away. Can include work such as bolting, drilling, welding, brazing, etc. We have cold work. Work performed that breaks into a process where a possibility for combustion exists. We have tapping, breaking into a system where potentially hazardous or non-hazardous materials exist. We have firewatch, the process of observing hot work and the observing work area after hot work has been completed. And then we have brazing. I would love to tell you the definition. I don't know what brazing is. Here we have hazard elimination. So this is a hierarchy of controls. We always start with elimination, then substitution, engineering, administrative, and then PPE. PPE is going to be the least effective. Elimination is going to be the most effective. The reason being is PPE is a passive method. So we put PPE on and we hope it saves us at the time. All these other ones are active methods. We're actively trying to give you knowledge, remove it away from you, guard it, replace it. We're trying to do something actively to protect you from it. PPE, again, is passive. Efforts must be made to eliminate atmospheric hazards. Elimination of the hazard is the preferred method to maintain employee safety. This can be accomplished by adding or changing ventilation, enclosing operations that emit hazards, or changing manufacturing processes. This is hot work, welding, cutting program requirements. So hot work, welding, cutting programs should include procedures for requirement on hot work, employee training requirements, your permitting procedures, supervisory approval requirements, and safe distance requirements. So this is the NFPA 51B, Standard for Fire Prevention During Welding, Cutting, and Other Hot Work. It also is OSHA's 29 CFR 1910 3-3.2. There's standard for trying to prevent or remove flammable sources. All combustibles shall be relocated at least 35 feet horizontally from the work site. If relocation is impractical, combustibles shall be protected with fire retardant covers or otherwise shielded with metal or fire retardant guards or curtains. Hot work permits may be required for any temporary operations involving open flames or producing heat, sparks, or both in an occupied tenant space. This includes, but is not limited to, brazing, cutting, grinding, soldering, sawing pipe, torch-plied roofing, or any kind of welding. Prior to performing hot work, so within 35 feet of known ignition source, you should contact the customer representative, complete hot work permit, have the customer sign it, and you must have full approval, and also follow the requirements of the permit to the letter. This is just another part of that hot work permit. You can see it has instructions, who's going to be doing it, the date, location, nature of the job, your signature to verify. It's going to go through the required precautionary checklist where you have to fill that out. Make sure that you are protecting everybody, yourself, the environment, any kind of property, things like that. Firewatch requirements. So the NFPA 51B 4.4.1, the firewatch shall be trained to understand the inherent hazards of the work site and of the hot work. That is all we have this month. Thank you guys for being here and enjoying the safety meeting. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys next month.